You're listening to Brandon Sports Talk, interviewing professional athletes and Paralympians and Olympians. And now for your professional athlete interview and your host, Brandon P. Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the Keene State's assistant ice hockey coach, Coach Joe Nutting. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing good. Can you talk
Good.
about how you knew that you want to get started in coaching in college with ice hockey?
So I have a different path, I think, than most people. This was not my original plan. I graduated from Keene State. I'm coaching at my alma mater, but I graduated in the spring of 2022. And I'm a huge golf nerd. I love playing golf, so I sort of had an agreement with my parents that they'd give me the summer to figure my life out a little bit, and I'd get one last summer of golfing with my buddies and enjoying my summers before I went into the real world. Um, and the head coach at the time of Franklin Pierce University reached out to my college hockey coach and asked if he had anyone in mind to be his assistant. His assistant had left to pursue an assistant job at the University of Vermont. And so my coach gave me as a reference, and I've been around the game my entire life. I love playing hockey. I've coached youth hockey. I've coached youth lacrosse growing up, so I thought I'd give it a shot, and I interviewed for the position, and me and his name is Sean Millerick, the former head coach at Franklin Pierce. We gelled well, and it was kind of a unique opportunity where it really just fell into my lap. It wasn't on my radar. I graduated with a safety degree from Keene State, which has nothing to do with athletics. I don't have a sports management degree, nothing like that, but it really just fell into my lap, and it's something that I am passionate about, and it doesn't really feel like work when you get to skate every day and you're watching hockey as your job, whether it's recruiting or planning practice or scouting other teams. It doesn't really feel like work. So it was a unique opportunity that really fell into my lap, and I've been running with it ever since.
What was that experience like for you playing collegiate ice hockey for Keene State?
So it was a blast. My college experience is different than most as well, just like my path into coaching. I started my collegiate career at UMass Lowell. I played Division I college lacrosse for a year. And honestly, when I was at Lowell, I didn't dislike Lowell, but I missed hockey. So I made the decision to drop out after my freshman year, and I went and I played junior hockey back in New Hampshire for the New Hampshire Junior Monarchs with the aspirations to hopefully play Division III hockey and lacrosse. And that opportunity presented itself when I talked to Bobby Rodrigue, who's our Division III head coach, and he offered me a spot on the hockey team. And I already knew the lacrosse coach well here, so it was really kind of the best of both worlds that I got to play both sports that I loved, and I didn't have to pick one. I've been told that I had to pick one since I was 14, and I'm still coaching both. But the experience playing at Keene is really unique in the fact that at a lot of just small Division IIIs, especially in New England, a lot of teams don't have a rink on campus. A lot of teams don't have a lot of student attendance or fans. Keene's in a unique position where we have a town owned by the city, a rink owned by the city, about half a mile from campus. So it's walkable. There's also shuttles for games. So we packed the barn. It's a lively atmosphere. It was a blast to play at Keene. And I fell in love with the city overall. I moved back to Keene. I live here full time now. And I'm really thankful for the opportunity that I had to get to play here. And now I get to, you know, hopefully inspire the next generation of college hockey players coming through Keene. So it's really come full circle for me, and it's an exciting experience.
What was that experience like for you getting to put on the sweater for the ice hockey program and getting to represent Keene State?
Yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about it. It's a very professionally run program. Our head coach is great. We say the term we use is outside the glass. So in terms of whether it's apparel or scheduling or bus trips and food and everything outside the glass was done at such a professional level that it made putting everything inside the glass that much less stressful. All you had to focus on was hockey and everything else was taken care of. And I think that's hard with a lot of the small Division IIIs where there's only one or two coaches on the staff, that some stuff gets lost in the wind. But Bobby, our head coach, did a tremendous job in making sure that the only thing that we had to focus on was inside the glass and on the ice, and that made my experience, tremendous. I got the best of everything I could ask for.
What was that experience like putting on that ice hockey jersey and representing them?
So it's great. I have nothing but love for Keene State, so I love to represent my school. I had great teammates. My parents lived locally enough that they could come to all my home games. I had family, I had friends come and watch, and I love Keene State. I love everything it stands for. I had a great experience as a student here, and it was a really valuable experience to be able to represent my school playing hockey.
What were some of your biggest accomplishments on the ice hockey side as a player?
So, from a personal standpoint, I was a 100-point collegiate scorer. I was an All-American. I don't know if you've ever heard of Hey Barber. It's like an Instagram viral page with, viral goals or clips get posted. So I was on Hey Barber, two different clips in my college career, which is kind of cool. My teammates, I think, were a little bit jealous, but that was something I was proud of. As far as team accomplishments, we qualified for the national tournament twice. We won our conference 3 out of the 4 years that I was there. Unfortunately, COVID cut one of our years short, headed right into the national tournament. But realistically, it was everything we could ask for. We were a very successful program. I had a great career here. I scored a lot of points. I had a lot of fun. I made a lot of lifelong friends. And now that we're getting a little bit older, I'm getting invited to my teammates' weddings, and it was a really good experience all around.
For you coming out of college, what was that experience like going to Franklin Pierce and getting to become an associate head coach?
So that was an eye-opening experience for me. I really didn't know what to expect. I'd never coached at the NCAA level. So I was, fresh out of college. I was only a year older than some of the kids on the team, which I think is, it can be a little scary, honestly, for some guys. And I was nervous at first. I'm not going to lie. But the coach my first year there, Sean Millerick, was awesome. He didn't have to hold my hand, but he gave me help where I needed it, and he gave me leash where he thought I could take the leash, and he sort of let me develop my own coaching style, with staying in the parameters of what he stood for and what he believed in. And I'm appreciative of my experience at Franklin Pierce. It was good for my career development, absolutely.
While at Franklin Pierce, what were some of your biggest accomplishments as a coach?
So, Pierce plays in the New England Northeast 10 conference. So it's technically Division II ice hockey, which the NE10 is the only conference that is technically Division II. Um, but some accomplishments in my second year, we hosted our first home playoff round in program history. So that was really big for the culture. Historically, Franklin Pierce is right around the middle to the lower third of the league. And we were right at the upper end of the middle, of the second tier there. So we got to host a home playoff game. It was the first time in, I think, like 18 years. It was the first time in school history that we hosted. So that was probably the biggest accomplishment. I also got to sort of interim as the head coach for a while. So I was at the helm behind the bench. I was the only coach for the last couple months of the season. So that taught me a lot. But in terms of accomplishments, I think I developed professionally. I see the game in a new way. I think it was really good for my career moving forward.
What was that feeling like getting that taste, as you said, as a interim head coach?
So that was a lot to handle. As I mentioned over at Keene State, that Bobby is great outside the glass. That's something I struggle with as a young coach. Just scheduling buses and hotels and meals is something that I had never had to do before. That's something that the head coach or the hockey ops guy would usually take care of. And when I was sort of thrown into that position, I was thrown into the fire. I had to learn on the fly. Um, so in terms of that, I learned a lot, and I had to learn quickly because I was in charge, and I was going to be the one that everyone looked back on if things didn't go well. But in terms of inside the glass, it was great to sort of develop my own systems, my own mold, and sort of just get to experience what it's like to be the guy in charge. Obviously now I'm in an assistant role over at Keene State, but obviously I aspire to be a head coach, in the next few years. That's why I'm doing it. I'm not getting rich being an assistant Division III coach. I think that's no secret, but it's great to throw on the resume that I've been there, done that before. I didn't have to do it for a full year. I didn't have to order apparel or anything like that, but I definitely learned a lot in the few months that I was the head coach.
What was that feeling like for you coming back home to your alma mater to become an assistant coach?
So that's about as excited as I could be. Like I sort of said earlier, I had nothing but love for Keene State. I love the city. I love the town. I love the people. I love the university. So the opportunity to come back and coach where I had such a great experience as a player is something that I really value. Um, and I think that in terms of recruiting, it's it's easy to have someone that's been in those shoes kind of explain to you what a day-to-day looks like because I think at a lot of schools, the coach doesn't really know. They sit in the office and they recruit and they go on the ice, but they never sat in classrooms, they never lived off campus, they never lived in the dorm or ate at the dining hall. So I think I have a unique perspective as that I was in their shoes 3 years ago. I was a student at the school. So I think that that gives me a unique advantage, especially in terms of recruiting.
What was that transition like for you, as you said, going from being a player to getting onto the coaching side at your alma mater?
So the transition was fairly easy. I know what I like out of a coach, and I know what I liked as a player, and so I sort of try to mold those two things together. And I like to sort of, like I said, I was in those shoes recently, so it's sort of an easy transition for me. It doesn't feel like work. I enjoy coming to the office. I enjoy watching hockey. Like it's a unique experience where I do get to coach where I went to school, and I think that's something that I take pride in and I value. And obviously, I think I not that other coaches don't care, but I care to another degree in the fact that if this falls apart, it falls on my shoulders, and that's something that I'd never want to happen. I know I'm excited to be here, and I think it's a really cool experience for our guys.
As a coach in alma mater, what is it like getting to step onto that ice as a coach?
So as a coach at Keene State, I haven't been on the bench yet. Our season hasn't started. We just started up with practice. So I'm sure I'll have some emotions. I'll feel some jitters and I'll be excited. But to be honest, I'm not entirely sure yet. I know that the school is backing the program tremendously. I know the city is excited for the team and what we're going to look like. But to be honest, I don't know yet. I'm excited. I'm thrilled for the opportunity, but I won't know till I get there.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've helped to build for Kent State?
So our culture is its team comes first. Obviously, with some individuals that individual success is important. But the main theme and our real culture is it's a we not me mentality, and it doesn't matter who scores the game winning goal. It doesn't matter who took the shitty penalty. It's all about putting a W in the win column at the end of the day. And I think our guys have really bought into that, and that starts with a lot of competitive practices and there's punishments for the guys that lose at practice. They got to skate, and so it's really winning is the most important thing. And I'm sure that's a common theme that you hear from every coach. But I think that we really try to value team success over individual success. And I think that's sort of the difference maker for us.
Who are some of the teams in your conference that you compete against?
So we'll be joining the Little East Conference. So that's mostly state schools in the Northeast. So we'll play against Plymouth State, who's a national powerhouse. We're going to play against Norwich. They're in our conference. They're a powerhouse. Babson is joining the conference. We play Southern Maine, UMass Dartmouth, UMass Boston. There's a few I'm leaving out. New England College. It's mainly New England small state schools. But there's some dogs in the Little East. With Plymouth being a national contender, Norwich has national championships recently. Babson is nationally contending. So it's a very competitive conference. And we're excited to get started.
What is that home game atmosphere like when teams like Northwich comes to home versus going to Southern Maine and playing that way?
So sort of what I alluded to earlier, our rink is so close to campus that we have great attendance. We have a great student section. It's loud. The rink is less than 10 years old. So it's a new building, loudspeakers, bright lights. It's a really great atmosphere to play at home. We value that playing on our home ice, it's going to be a tough night for the other team. As opposed to when you go on the road, some of the teams, I'm not sure about Southern Maine specifically, but some teams you go to their rink and it's 30 minutes from campus and you just have a few parents and you're playing at like a a state rink that's not on campus. It's definitely a different atmosphere. And I think that home ice advantage is a huge thing in college hockey. And we have some of the best fans in the conference, and we're excited to make it a tough place to play for opponents coming into our barn.
What are some of the things that you've been able to accomplish so far as an assistant ice hockey coach?
So not much, honestly. We're excited about our recruiting class. I've got a few recruits that I'm really excited about. I have a little more leash here at Keene to go out and recruit by myself. At Franklin Pierce, there was only two of us, so it wasn't really divide and conquer. It was we would confer about each player individually. At Keene, it's sort of we have a larger coaching staff, so we are dividing and conquering, where we get to bring in sort of guys that we like and we want to develop and we think fits into the mold. But it's my first year here, so as an assistant, I don't have that many on ice accomplishments yet. It's our season gets started full bore October 15th, so I think that's really when some of those answers will funnel in. Some of those questions will get answered.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to play collegiate ice hockey?
So we obviously we have a website that has a recruit me tab. And that goes right into our database, and we can look up the player. We can look up their stats. If they have any film, it's called Instat. If there's any film on them on Instat, we can take a peek at that. But we like to watch a guy play in person before we invite them on campus. The next step is we get them on campus. We give them a tour. We show them the rink. We show them the locker room. We let them know that we're interested. From there, we do not extend an offer to any player until they're accepted to the school. So we want to make sure that we're the right fit for the student and the athlete and as the same kid. So we want to make sure they get in academically. And we want to make sure they're serious about it. Like throwing out an offer to a kid that hasn't applied just seems, then we're not sure how many we're really recruiting at that point. We're not sure if they're going to commit or if they're going to get in. So it makes the numbers a little funky. So once our player is admitted or they get into the school, and we still love what we see and they seem interested and they get their financial aid package and they see what they're going to pay, then we'll extend an offer. And if it's a mutual relationship that they want to come here and we want the player here, then we send an offer and hopefully we get a commitment from the player, and then we keep tabs on them throughout the rest of their season, and then we hope they show up in the fall.
What does that official visit look like for those prospective student athletes? And as a coach and alma mater, what is it like seeing those players fall in love with the campus and facility that you played at?
So a visit for us is it starts with a tour with the coaches. I think some schools have they let their prospective student athletes tour with like an admissions tour. We don't do that. It's me and our head coach or just our head coach walking the player around, answering any questions. Sometimes they bring their family. That's great too, because at the end of the day, they're usually the one paying the bills. So it's important for us that their family knows what their money's going towards. And then we'll bring them over to the rink. We show them the locker room. We have a few videos on social media from games in the past where they can sort of get an idea of the atmosphere with the fans and how the rink looks on a game day. And then we allow them the opportunity if they want to schedule an overnight visit, they'll stay with one of our players and they can shadow them to class, and they shadow at practice. They come and watch a practice. Um, Not all players do that. A lot of kids that are in school or have their own junior games, the schedule doesn't work. But we do allow that opportunity. And then from then on, it's really about if they're a good fit for us and if we're a good fit for them. And once they apply and we commit them, then all bets are off.
As a coach and alma mater, what is it like seeing those freshmen put on that kid uniform for the first time?
It's exciting. I mean, I'm jealous a little bit, honestly. Coaching is the next best thing, but the best thing is playing. So for a freshman coming in, I remember being in those shoes 5, 6 years ago, whatever it was, and the pregame jitters and the nerves, and you practice your entire life and you train your entire life to play in college. Like the reality of it is nobody playing Division III hockey is going to the NHL. So we treat it as these kids' NHL. This is the best hockey they're going to play in their entire lives. So to answer your question, long story short, I'm jealous. I wish I was back being a freshman doing the same thing they were doing, but I'm doing the next best thing.
What is that like getting to see them achieve those first milestones in their career, like first hat tricks, first goals?
Yeah, it's like a proud dad moment almost. You recruit these kids when they're 16, 17, 18, and they get here when they're 20, 21. Um, and it's just rewarding to see all their hard work pay off. And it's rewarding for us as well that we picked the right kid and that they're happy where they are and they're seeing success on the ice. It's a really rewarding feeling.
What is that like getting to see those seniors put on that jersey for the last time representing the school?
That's a sad time, when at the end of your senior year, all the guys go out and they get real jobs, which Keene is great at. In terms of employment after graduation, we have a tremendously high success rate in terms of employment. And not a lot of guys get to do what I do. They don't stay involved in the game. They go out and they start a family and they work their desk job or whatever it may be, which is great for them. That's not my thing, but it's sad to see it come to an end. I think, there's that saying that don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. And I think that that's a really good metaphor sort of for collegiate sports in general, is that it's you meet your best friends for the rest of your life and the guys that are going to be in your wedding. But for the last time, it's a sad feeling, honestly. It's a little depressing, but like I said, it's smile because it happened.
What is that like as a coach seeing them achieve those last milestones in their career?
You just got to be happy for the guys when they're at a school or a university for 4 years. You get to know the family, you get to know the parents. They're coming, they're tailgating, they're donors to the program. It's a rewarding feeling, and you're happy for the guys, and you hope that the last game is a championship, the last time they put on the sweater. But for 99% of teams, that's not the case. But I think it's a rewarding feeling, and it's great for the team, and it's great for the kid, and it's great for the family that they can pass on their legacy in that jersey to the next freshman that steps into their shoes. So it's a unique experience.
For you as a coach, what is it like seeing those players go on and achieve great things in their hockey career, whether it's playing overseas, going into the NHL, or going even into the ACHL?
Yeah, so any guys that I have coached haven't made it past the Federal Hockey League, the Fed. That's the lowest tier of pro hockey in North America. We've had a few players go and chase that dream. I think a lot of guys just want to do it for a couple months just to get a paycheck to play hockey, and sort of that's their I made it moment, which is great for them. And I'm thrilled. It's great for our program. We can put it on our Instagram that we sent a kid to go play pro hockey, and that's awesome. But like I said, we at the Division III level aren't sending guys to the NHL. It's very few and far between, and we haven't had one yet. Maybe down the road we will, and that would be tremendous. That's kind of, paying homage to the work that we do as a coaching staff. But that's not our goal. Is we're not developing guys for the NHL. We're developing guys to win championships here, and I think that that's our number one priority. If you're at a Division I university, BC, BU, those guys, the players have advisors and they have agents, and you're trying to make everybody happy. And that's sort of at the Division III level, the we, not me, like team comes first mentality. Is it's really about what we're doing at Keene State, and we're not too worried about the future after the fact until we get there.
What advice would you give those players out there looking to get into coaching after their playing career?
So honestly, having a great relationship with your coach as a player. I'm open to all sorts of ideas. I like when guys knock on the door and they say, "Hey, coach, I think we should try this. I want to do this drill." That way, if a coaching opportunity pops up and I have that kid in mind, then I relay that information to the kid and say, "Hey, there's an opening. Why don't you go apply? I think you'd be great for the position." But there's not a lot of jobs in college hockey, and they don't pop up often because guys, they get their job and they're content and they're happy where they are. So it's not an easy field to get into. To be honest, it's unfortunate, but it's kind of who you know and when you know them is really the easiest way in. But obviously knowing your stuff and being professional and having a great resume as a player pays dividends in the long run.
What are some of your future plans for the program moving forward?
Future what for the program?
Plans.
So obviously we're trying to phase one is win a Little East championship. Once if you win our conference championship, you get an automatic bid to the national tournament. So we're a fairly new Division III program. So our first goal is to win an LEC championship, and from then on, it's going to be to win an extra game and another game and another game, and eventually you hope to be a national champion. But like I said earlier, one team gets to say that at the end of the year, and whatever the 68, whatever it is, number, don't get to say that. So in the grand scheme of things, that is the goal. But on like a personal level, we want our guys to graduate. We want them to graduate on time, and we want them to get great jobs out of college. I think that there's a funny balance there between hockey is all that we care about as a coaching staff, but we understand that the kids have more to worry about in their lives than just hockey, and that the hockey comes to an end at some point.
What advice would you give those incoming freshmen entering their first year of college ice hockey?
It's a marathon, not a sprint. I think a lot of guys are discouraged after, the first semester of their freshman year that they're not playing a lot or they don't like the way that they're playing. But you get 4 or 5 years to play college sports. And if things don't go right in the first 6 months, that's all right. It doesn't go right for most guys. And just to really kind of take a deep breath and take a step back and talk to the upperclassmen and the older guys on the team about their struggles. And really just to take it all in. The college is supposed to be the best 4 years of your life, and we don't disagree with that. We want them to have the best experience on and off the ice.
What advice would you give those juniors transitioning into being seniors and leading the program?
Take it all in. I think your senior year, there's a lot of lasts. You have your last home opener, you have your last road trip, you have your last team dinner. Um, Everyone says it goes by in a blink of an eye, and they're right. It really does. Looking back on my time, I didn't value my senior year as much as I should have. So I really try to push that on the kids that this is it. You're gonna wish you had times like this in the future. So really take it all in and enjoy the moment with your best buddies.
What advice would you give those coaches looking to coach at their alma mater like you have?
Yeah, I think you have to keep a good connection with your teachers, your coaching staff, and your athletic director. I think, staying in touch um, plays a major key when a job opening pops up. Their first initial thought is going to be if you're in the back of their mind, they're going to think of you. So I think staying in touch with the program, whether it's being a donor or a season ticket holder, or you're just showing up to games here and there and saying hi to the team, I think that pays dividends in terms of keeping your face in the back of the coaching staff's mind. Um, but it's not an easy thing to do. Like I said, there's 2 or 3 jobs per team. It's certainly not easy to overcome, or you can't just get a job, no problem. But just how you carry yourself as a student athlete will pay dividends if you want a job with the university.
What advice would you give those coaches out there looking to become assistant coaches for an ice hockey program?
Yes, honestly, more of the same. I think you got to know your stuff, first of all. You got to make good connections. You got to go to camps. You got to work summer camps. You got to do clinics, out recruiting. It's really networking. It's the more people you know, the better your chances are of being thought of when a job opens up.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you on social media along with the program at?
So my personal social media is Joe Nutting. KSC_MIH, men's ice hockey, is our team's Instagram, Twitter. Our games are live streamed on the Little East Network. And I think that's all we got for social media right now.
Thank you again, Joe Nutting, for your interview and best luck in your future at Keene State.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Joe Nutting, for your interview and best luck in your future.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good luck.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.